We're having an encounter at the Blue Bayou and we're off to Raccoon City for a final account. I'm Van Connor.
And I'm Becks Perfect, and this is Off Screen, your 7-day guide to everything movies.
Boom.
Groovy.
Welcome to Off Screen, your 7-day guide to everything cinematic, everything celluloid-based, or at least it was once upon a time, and everything available on every screen in your home. Actually, it is available kind of on every screen now, is it? Do we have any devices anymore that don't play movies? I think smartwatches are about it, aren't they?
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, do we go around not holding at least one device as well that could play a movie? Because that's
we
pretty
always
much
have, we always have the ability to watch a movie now, don't we? Anyway, speaking of watching movies, I know one that you've seen. I'm looking forward to talking to you about this, because I have also seen it, of course. Is Blue Bayou. She's directed by, written by, and starring Justin Chon, alongside, I think his on-screen partner is Alicia Vikander. You saw this this week. Tell us about Blue Bayou, Bex.
Well, Justin Chon actually plays a Korean-American man who is raised in the Louisiana Bayou, and he's actually an adopted Korean-American, and he's not got the easiest of lives. He's got a lovely partner. She's pregnant with his child. He's kind of stepfather to her other child. He tries to make a life for his family, but actually there's a lot of ghosts from his past. There's a factor in which he might be deported, which is a massive issue for him. And actually just the racial tension around him being a Korean American is just something that really plagues him throughout his whole journey.
It says here you have 2 felonies.
Yeah, but they were for nonviolent crimes. I wouldn't hurt nobody.
What'd you steal?
I could fix just about anything. I could fix motorcycles, cars. Hell, I could fix a lot.
What'd you steal?
Motorcycles, but that was a long time ago. I could, if you give me a chance, I could be a real asset to your workplace.
I don't think so.
So you got kids?
I've got a couple.
I got this baby on the way, and I'm just looking for another job.
Where you work at now?
Tattoo parlor.
I think you're better off there.
This movie covers a lot of ground. There's a lot of topics that are featured in this, issues around what life is like living on, I wouldn't say the poverty line, but just actually not in a very affluent part of the Louisiana Bayou. It's how the sad other half live, in a way. Justin Chon does an amazing performance in this, as does Alicia Vikander. It's a really beautifully shot, wonderfully acted, heartbreaking movie is how I'd probably describe it.
I agree with you completely. I was really blown away by this. I really wasn't expecting much of it. And I think Miriam and I watched the trailer before we put the screener on. And we were sort of just thinking, this will be one of Van's usual movie review ones. It won't be any good. We watched the trailer like, that looks really good. And we watched it like, that's even better than it looked. I do think Justin Chon, in particular, has real strength. As an actor, absolutely great performance here, but as a director as well, and knowing just how to stage everything. He knows how to assemble a scene, and he knows how to do it with great dramatic effect. And there's a lot of scenes, you'll have noticed this yourself, where it's two-hander scenes, where it's usually just a quick cut between 2 people sat across a table, but he will hold on one side and allow, this is the person who has the monologue, they've got the shot, it's theirs, and just keep everyone else sort of off camera. I like the way that's staged, and I think there was a lot of that. Like, so some of the visuals are very grand, there's a lot of wonder to them, amidst the murk and the misery which is plentiful in his life otherwise. Alicia Vikander playing against type, really, as well. This is not a role, you gave me this on paper and said, who do we cast? I'm never going to go, Alicia Vikander, clearly, yes. First person that leaps to mind.
No, she's great. Yeah, she's done a really good job in this. I think, going back to the direction and actually the cinematography in this as well. Right at the beginning, you see almost this picture perfect view of the bayou. Like, it's almost got like these beautiful pink leaves, and it frames the bayou beautifully. There's a bit that comes out at the end that you see at the beginning. It kind of, rounds off everything to do with this movie. For me, the way you say it kind of mixes from the murk to other more dramatic pieces. I mean, when we look at the kind of race element of this, there's a horrendous scene in a supermarket where where Justin Chon's character is just shopping with with Alicia Vikander. They get into a little bit of an argument. Suddenly 2 police officers come and accost them, one of which is her actual daughter's father, and the other who just can't let it go. And it's that horrible gutting sort of feeling of racism that kicks in on for no reason. And and again with Justin Chong, he sort of keeps that scene, although difficult to watch, he keeps it going for a little bit longer than you'd expect. So there's so many powerful different parts of this movie that I think, is it 2 hours long? It's about that, isn't it? And it just,
I think it's about 1:50, something about 1:52.
Yeah,
like that.
it's a good pace for that amount of time. I think it kind of does everything. Yeah, I can't really fault it. I thought it was a really
good,
well-made movie. Yeah, very surprising.
Well, I mean, it's worth pointing out that movie did reduce my otherwise emotionally impenetrable better half and had her in floods of tears by the end. Another movie that did that as well is our next one to talk about this week, which is the new Amazon Prime release, Encounter, which I didn't know anything about. I just knew, Curzon are putting this movie out, but it's through Amazon Prime, which really confused me. And then I found out it stars Riza Ahmed and Octavia Spencer. And the basic premise here is that Riza Ahmed is seemingly like a Marine. He's like a Black Ops Marine who breaks into his ex-wife's, his estranged wife's home one night and wakes his 2 sons up and says, "Aliens are taking over the Earth. I'm going to get you to safety." And along the way, they're accosted by various dark forces that force the question, are aliens really out to get them, or has Dad finally lost his mind?
It's okay. What's going on here? Road trip with my boys at 3 a.m.
No, please, stop! This operation extends to all adjacent states. They have no idea the kind of danger that they're in.
Why can't we go home?
This ain't a road trip. It's a rescue mission. Nothing bad's gonna happen to you while I'm around. Besides, if this ain't a hell of an adventure, I know what is, dude.
Bar the cast, if you were to tell me the premise of this movie, I'd be like, nah, not interested. I think it just sounds a bit disjointed from the synopsis, but please tell me what it actually evolves into.
Sounds disjointed. I can't go too far into it for spoiler reasons because there is that whole is it or isn't it kind of element to this. And obviously if you fall definitively on the side of one of them, you kind of ruin the whole game. But I will say the movie, first of all, makes a good solid sport out of exactly that. The movie keeps you guessing very well and very effectively. This does feel at times like a sort of phoned-in Shyamalan. It would very much appeal to fans of Jeff Nichols' Midnight Special. It has that sort of aesthetic. But at the same time, you do feel like this feels like a phoned-in Shyamalan. Cast-wise, I think it works really well as well. I think Riz Ahmed's terrific in it. I think he's got great chemistry, and I wanted to get the names right. The 2 young child actors play sons, who are Lucian River Chowan and Aditya Gadada. Lucian River, that's a cool name. Lucian
That is a
River.
very cool name.
And Octavia Spencer, not the biggest role. You know, this is one of those roles she's taken on that's like 5 days of filming kind of thing, and they've used her name to bolster the project. But she actually does make an effective turn out of it. Also nice to see on screen, Rory Cochrane, middle-aged Rory Cochrane. Who's the guy in Empire Records who loses all the money at the beginning of the movie?
Oh, Joe.
You know the
Joe, yeah, because Lucas goes, it's the whole scene is Joe, Lucas, Joe, where's the money, Joe? Atlantic City. That's Joe. That's why I know it's Joe.
Well, there you go. So I always remember him as Tim Speedle from CSI Miami, which, as we all know, is the greatest of all the CSIs. But this is really worth seeing. It's part Invasion of the Body Snatchers, part Jacob's Ladder, and frankly, you don't know which of those two it actually is. I loved that about it. Really well made, really solid. This is Michael Pierce writing and directing this, who did Beast. You know, with Johnny Flynn.
Oh, yes.
Remember
Yeah.
that was yeah. Great follow up to that. Great follow up, absolutely worth seeing. If you liked Beast, definitely check this out. But this is a lot more mainstream a film, I'd say, than Beast. So this is on Amazon. This is on limited theatrical from today, I think, and then I think it's Amazon Prime from next week, or I'm not sure on that one. It's Amazon Prime's a few days behind the theatrical, but definitely do see this. It's worth it just for Riz Ahmed's performance.
Welcome back to Off Screen. We're keeping it cinematic for you. And that was a good start to the show. We've had some good solid wins with our cinematic offering. Sometimes it's a little bit, so one is good and one is not so good, but we're on to a good stretch this week. We are moving on to something much more serious than aliens and things like that. We're moving on to Final Account, which is a documentary about the Third Reich, which is something we've both seen, isn't it, Van?
Well, this is the thing. It's about the Third Reich, but more specifically, I think it's about, if you look at how this has been made. So I think it's not been made like recently. This has been made over the course of about the last 11 years, and it's been taking the final accounts of elder German citizens who were children during the time of the Third Reich, or were teenagers during, and it's about just what life was like as a civilian for the youth. It's about like what it was like to see this, and there's and how they responded to it in their own ways. We haven't got a clip, obviously, because it's a lot of it's
all in German,
and subtitled. But they say it is Final Account because this is the final opportunity to get a lot of these people on microphone. You're talking about taking accounts from a lot of very old people, and it sort of stands in opposition to something like, remember, They Shall Not Grow Old, the Peter Jackson World War I, where he used technology and recolorized. It has a similar intent as that, which is we want to get the ultimate documentation on account. There is that vibe going for it, but it is ultimately, here's some old people's talking heads telling you about what life was like when they started seeing more Nazi flags.
Yeah, and you know what? That's where I really struggled with this. Like the content and, seeing them, I was amazed at how early indoctrinated they would be in the Hitler Youth. I was shocked at how they'd be given like alphabet books, which would have like really derogatory drawings of Jewish people on it.
Did you learn nothing from Jojo Rabbit, Miss Perfect? Did Jojo Rabbit teach you nothing?
No, I know, but like it's actually like that's fiction to a point, and obviously this is hearing real people talk about this in real life. So it's kind of understanding that. I can't say I enjoyed this because that's not the right word, is it? But
I don't think you can. No.
I think I appreciated the content. Now, I struggled massively with the formula of this and the format because for me, it felt too formulaic. So you do just see talking heads. There's a problem in the sense that when you're watching it on your telly box, for instance, it is too small text, right? I really struggled with the subtitles, and I really struggled like reading it and being kept in sort of my attention to it.
The subtitlers, I think their job title is the subtitlers, the poor guys that can transcribe or copy the actual script in, and
there's things like that, and also I felt like, as much as there was talking heads, I needed to see even more visual to kind of keep the pace going. There was a lot of time where you're just watching someone speak. And I spend a lot of time, on other channels and things where I am looking at watching like myself do interviews with people. And I'm so conscious to cut in footage to make it more visually engaging when I'm doing that. And I think this needed a little bit more of that. Although the imagery, when it was put in, very harrowing. Early on
in the film, I can agree with you. I think there is an editing fault to this, which is I think there is an abundance of static talking head shots that aren't intercut, and that happens I think early on in the film. When it gets to the later sections and we start getting to the revelations that, there are some members interviewed feel very strongly that certain elements of the Third Reich's activities have been embellished or expanded, let's just politely say. Others have somewhat, let's just say, a querying nature about the number of people that died during the Holocaust, for instance. And they say this with complete sincerity. And I think not breaking from those interviews in particular, I think adds massively to a lot of the emotion in that scene. There is a lot of toughness to sitting through a lot of what is on display here, and I think a lot of effectiveness is wrung out of forcing you to hold your attention there, forcing you to not be cut away, forcing you not to get that get out of jail free card where you morally get to put something aside for a second and be like, oh yes, that's how the clip worked back then. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. And just forcing you to confront it. I liked that about it. I thought it was a really powerful documentary. I thought it was incredibly well put together. There's a sequence in which someone who worked in the concentration camps is put before a group of college kids and takes them to task over alt-right views, for instance. And there is a lot of pathos wrung out of, look, this is how this started way back when. You all need to wake up and look around every now and again. And it never loses that effectiveness for me. Like, I don't think you can preach that analogy too much, personally, but it works. It's effectively done. I think it's, is it Luke Holland put this together? I think Luke Holland himself
Lucas Holland. Is it Luke Holland or Lucas Holland?
Lucas Holland. I think his grandfather, I think it might be Luke Holland, right? But his grandfather, I believe, is a Holocaust survivor. So this is done in memorial to him. Something very, very different, meanwhile, and this is the worst possible segue you could make from a documentary about Nazi Germany. Let's talk about Resident Evil. Welcome to Raccoon City. The seventh Resident Evil theatrical film, would you believe? This franchise, this is a genuine trivia, this franchise has totaled up so far $1.25 billion worldwide. And yet you and I can, in fact, just as a species, we can all collectively probably name one sequence from a Resident Evil movie. And that's the corridor with the laser grid. Like, does anyone remember anything else? Like maybe the DVD cover? I don't think anyone remembers. So anyway, the point is, let's do a reboot. And their idea for the reboot is Paul W.S. Anderson, and Mila Jovovich, and that made-up character of Alice, they're out. Okay, now we're going to do the mythology of the PlayStation game. So, you know the PlayStation 1 game, you put it on, you're in the haunted house, it's the team wandering around, the stars team as they're called, wandering around the house doing the mystery thing. We're getting to that. That's what we're doing, okay? It's from Johannes Roberts, who directed The Other Side of the Door in 2016, did the 47 meters, 48 meters, whatever, 40-something meters down sequel, Unchained or Uncaged or whatever it was. I think he did the Strangers sequel as well. He's sort of become a direct-to-video sequel guy, disappointingly, but he's now getting to do the reboot of this. He's going deep into the horror lore of it, all about tone, all about atmosphere. The lead now is Kaya Scodelario from Skins.
From Skins.
I think is the star of the Pirates reboot Disney are doing, I think. Or maybe she was the love interest. I'm not sure what's going on. Or maybe she was in the last one. I forget. But Kaya Scodelario is our new lead. She's Claire Redfield. As fans know of the video game, she has a twin brother named Chris Redfield, who's a cop, who's played here by Robbie Amell from The Duff and the CW Arrowverse. And they are brought together with this grand mystery of what is happening in the small town of Raccoon City, in which they were raised out of the orphanage. She may or may not have clairvoyant powers. There is a shady doctor played by Neil McDonough, because of course he is, and also another tie to the Arrowverse there. Nicely done. The Umbrella Corporation, that is sort of the big company that runs the small town that they are from, is closing its doors. Something may or may not have gotten out of the lab, and creepy crawlies are out to get them in the form of sort of flesh-eating zombies. Same day, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. You know the score.
Why are you back here, Claire? Your conspiracies weren't true when we were kids. They're not true now.
We need to expose Umbrella.
Watch this.
I'm afraid, Claire. I'm afraid of what they're gonna do to this town. You see, Umbrella, they had an incident. I'm talking Chernobyl, if you know what I mean. People are getting sick. You gotta help us, Claire. Let the world know what's really going on.
Didn't hear any raccoons there. Quite interesting for a Raccoon City.
Weird thing, by the way. Weird thing, right? It is called Raccoon, and it's very obviously a town. But the title of the thing is Raccoon City, because in the video games it's called Raccoon City, and it actually is a city. So I don't know what's going on there, but this sure as hell is not a city. It's a town. It's a town called Raccoon, which makes no sense.
Why is it called Raccoon? I don't really understand. I mean, look, I've never played the game. I don't really know. I don't know what to expect. Look, as a noob, right, as someone who would come into this cold, could I watch this?
You absolutely could. Disappointingly, giving up the sort of schlock, pseudo faux Matrix action styly thing that Paul W.S. Anderson brought to his iteration, this skews a lot closer in tone to the video games, very much so. And the sequels as well, they do get to sort of the more ridiculous big monsters and things. The problem is the performances are rubbish. I mean, across the board.
Oh, no.
The performances are garbage. Save for Donal Logue, who is just having a ball in the middle of this. It's just Donal Logue in full, not even What We Do in the Shadows meta mode, just full Blade mode. He's enjoying himself here. The problem is it all feels very... direct to DVD. It all feels very much in the vein of the House of the Dead or the Silent Hill kind of movies. If you're a fan of those, and there are people that think the Silent Hill movies represent some of the better video game movies, which you're fair play. If you want to make that argument, fine. I'll agree with you to a point. And I think if you are in that camp, you're going to have a blast with this because it's very much in line with that. But they're going to go more. The sequels are going to go more direct to DVD if they come out of this, because that's what this feels like. This feels like you're going to get made for streaming movies off the back of this, and nothing else. This is not much more of a cinematic franchise, and that disappoints me because I'm a fan of Johannes Roberts. I think he's great. I interviewed him for The Other Side of the Door, and he was such a nice guy, and I loved his work on that, and the 47 Meters Down sequel, which I thought again was quite well done for a schlock sequel. It's kind of like Mike Flanagan. He's like a sort of runner-up to Mike Flanagan in that regard for me. But better luck next time. This is a better film than Paul Anderson's ones, but by God, is it duller. That's kind of it. It's crapper and it's duller. Ugh.
Welcome back to Offscreen. So we're moving you from the world of cinematography and, well, we're not moving you from the world of cinematography. We're just going to put it on your couch and bring you into the world of telly. And we've got a 7-day guide of all the top movies that you'll want to watch because we're telling you how great they are. And we're going to kick off with your Saturday night. And it's going to be Django Unchained on 5-star at 10 p.m. Now, I don't know where you sit with Quentin Tarantino, Van, but this movie for me kind of sits middle ground in terms of all of his offerings. It's not something that I will rush to watch again and again.
I mean, I don't mind Tarantino when I don't know when he's cooking up something like... I liked Once Upon a Time in Hollywood very much. Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs I don't think will ever be beaten. And I think Kill Bill 2 is better than Kill Bill 1, if you want my honest view. I think Hateful Eight was very good. But I'm aware I'm a weirdo in that regard. It's fine. It's fine. But Django Unchained is a decent middle ground. It's got some great moments. I think it has got some defining Tarantino moments. It was worthy of its Oscar attention. Anyway, am I right in thinking it was Will Smith that originally turned down Django? I think
he turned down what? Did he turn it down for Wild Wild West?
Well, that was The Matrix. Wasn't it on The Matrix or Wild Wild West? How stupid, man! Right. Anyway,
God.
10 p.m. Saturday night on 5-star seems a good time for Django as well. Now, Sunday pick. I know you don't like this one, but it's getting more close to Christmas. Sunday afternoons are turning into that time when you've been out in the cold with the kids, maybe over lunch, and you just want to curl up on the couch and get warm and watch something comforting on TV, some family movie fun. In which case, Channel 4 have got you covered at 4:30, small print, 4:30 on Sunday afternoon with their premiere of Sonic the Hedgehog, which I think is it the second highest grossing movie of 2020 because of COVID? I think it turned out to be the second highest grossing. I think Bad Boys for Life was like the third or something like that. But it is, of course, the CG live-action hybrid. James Marsden is the small-town cop forced onto a road trip with the one and only marooned version of Marooned, not Maroon. They've not changed his colour. God, they didn't try and make that change to him. They made other changes controversially, but the Marooned version of Sonic the Hedgehog.
I'm wet, I'm cold, there's a fish on my head, and clearly I'm not going to be able to do this on my own.
All right, get in the truck.
Really? You're going to help me?
I guess it is a little bit my fault that all this is happening to you.
Not a little bit, entirely. It is entirely your
Okay,
fault.
it's entirely my fault. Are you coming?
Yes. Road trip? Whoop whoop!
What am I doing?
What are we all doing? That's the question. What are we all doing watching this, Van?
It's fun for with the kids. I think it's a good one with the kids. I mean, my flatmate's son, my nephew, we all seem to just sort of love watching it. It's one of those ones. I can't explain it. It did turn out better than it had any reasonable expectation to be. I have more faith in Sonic the Hedgehog 2 than I do in Super Mario Brothers movie.
No, don't say it, Van. You and I will fall out. Let's move swiftly on before we lock horns anymore. Monday, we on ITV4 at 10 p.m. Now, I'm not familiar, but this is one that Van's picked. Half Past Dead.
No, it was crap pickings on Monday, so I was picking out of a bad bunch. It was either that or it was a repeat, I forget. But I've gone for this because it's just fun to talk about the fact that this exists. This is a movie, this is genuinely, I think, the last time anyone attempted to theatrically release a Steven Seagal movie. And it comes from 2003. It stars Steven Seagal, Morris Chestnut, and Ja Rule. And the idea is basically The Rock, but a sci-fi decked out version of Alcatraz. Actually on Alcatraz, they've reopened it and rebooted it with Steven Seagal versus Morris Chestnut in full leather matrix coat mode. It's terrible, but it's so spectacularly, hilariously terrible, it's almost worth a watch. And the rapper Corrupt, I believe, goes on from this movie to get his very own sequel as well, in which I think he stars with the WWE wrestler Goldberg. So you can always check that out if you're an aficionado. But let's talk then. I've deliberately tripped you up. I want to get this on record because I took great relish in this. I sent you the list of Freeview movies for this week to pick through. Yeah. And you sent them back to me and completely renamed one of them, justifiably accidentally, and I love it. So you sent me back your pick for Tuesday on the Horror Channel, 9 p.m, An American Werewolf in London. Now, I would be happy to indulge that. However, that's not what's on the Horror Channel at 9 p.m. on Tuesday. It is, in fact, the little-known sequel from 1998, An American Werewolf in Paris, starring Tom Everett Scott. And as the now adult daughter of the characters played by Jenny Agutter, etc., in the first one, in the John Landis original, Julie Delphi, who most cinephile, snooty cardigan film critics like to forget used to star in dross like this, in between things like Before Midnight and things like that. And this is on the Horror Channel, 9 p.m. Tuesday night, is worth seeing just to see how bad a direct-to-video, I think it plays like a made-for-TV remake of American Werewolf in London could possibly be.
I can only apologise, ladies and gents, because I saw it and thought, American Werewolf in London, the 1981 classic. Yeah. Yes! Yeah, I shall pay more attention next time. Slap me on the wrist.
It is still canon, though. It is still a canon sequel. It's like The Fly 2 with Eric Stoltz. It is still an actual official sequel, so it's worth knowing that it exists. And you can see it at 9 p.m. on the Horror Channel. On to Wednesday night, 11:15 on BBC Two. You didn't pick this, Bex. I did, because I refuse to deny this film the love that it deserves. Free State of Jones, starring Matthew McConaughey, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, Mahershala Ali, and Kerry Russell. This is directed by Hunger Games director Gary Ross. This was like his passion project for years. And it's effectively, it plays like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, with slavery in the Deep South. If you can imagine that, with McConaughey using the swamps in the same way that like Kevin Costner and that particular iteration of the Merry Men use the forest. This is great. This is worth seeing, and it's all about sort of he tries to. It's about the sort of those who have defected and those who have fled the conflict in the Civil War and freed slaves, basically forming their own militia and forming their own independent state of Jones County. But of course, they still have to deal with the racial integration and the emerging civil rights movement that's coming out of the end of slavery at the time. As you'll hear here.
Ain't just for you to decide. That child has a choice. I didn't have no choice. What kind of life you think is gonna be better for him?
Yeah, that ain't the point.
I don't want my boy to get lynched. I want him to go to a school. I don't want him to drop his eyes every time a white man walk by. I don't want him to be a boy no more once he turned into a man. Don't you want that too?
Of course I do.
We got to go up north. It ain't your fault we lost that war. I know you tried to win it all by yourself.
This is our home.
To be fair, it sounds, but from that clip, much better than my clip, which was the Hitman's Bodyguard.
The only thing I'll say about Free State of Jones is it has a final scene on the end that just doesn't need to be there. That's just like,
oh, no.
I mean, it sort of relates to the true story, and it just feels so awkward though. It's one of those moments where you're like, I know why narratively and for the purpose of the story it's there, but it just feels so naff. And the only thing I can compare it to is that moment at the end of the last Harry Potter movie in which they do like the 19 years later bit. And it's the only thing I can compare it to. And if you watch the movie, you will enjoy it, and then you'll get to that bit and you'll realise why I said that. Anyway, Thursday night, film for Becks. You've hit 11:20. This is worth noting, 25th anniversary this year. Take it away.
Oh, yes, 11:20 p.m. film for Thursday. Train Spotting, the one, the only. You know, every time I say that word, I've just got the Lust for Life music that just comes on in my head. It's, you know, it is the movie that launched Ewan McGregor's career. It's the movie that Danny Boyle I will forever be grateful for. It's just a fantastic movie. I don't need to say much more about it because we all know it's great. Let's move swiftly on.
It's been on every student bedroom wall, I think, for 25 years now as well. So.
Absolutely. I went to uni with my Film 4 poster, which included Renton on the front of it. And then Friday, I love this movie. Office Christmas Party is on Film 4 at 9 o'clock on Friday, rounding off the week. This is the one with Olivia Munn, isn't it?
This is the one. Yeah, your Hollywood double, yes. Starring Olivia Munn alongside Jason Bateman. Yeah, Jason Bateman. The thing is, this is Friday the 10th, 9 p.m. This is one of those I think most people are going to have to be Sky Plusing or TiVoing because most people are going to be going to their office Christmas parties, if not like this Friday night or this Saturday night, then the one after that, definitely the one after that. But we get to that point where the weekends, everyone starts to have their actual office Christmas parties if they are during COVID time. So why not enjoy this riotous one in which TJ Miller is the man-child company exec who has to save the fledgling family business from the machinations of his devious sister, played by Jennifer Aniston.
Dad gave you a free pass your entire life, and you're not getting one from me. The only way you're gonna hit your targets this year is by cutting jobs.
Hey, what if we landed the Data City account?
Data City? Walter Davis?
That's right.
You do know that he's already met with HP, Cisco, and Oracle.
Yeah, but he hasn't heard our pitch.
No.
Josh and I have been drilling into it for weeks.
No, months. Whole team. And we have a meeting with him this afternoon.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm on a flight to London tonight, so if by some miracle you guys can close Walter Davis and his $14 million contract by the time I land in Heathrow, the jobs are safe.
Done. And you'll see, you're gonna look so stupid.
Then we'll finally have something in common.
If, like me, you are having a Christmas party of one, then this is your perfect companion, is all I'd say. That, again, is on Friday night at Film 4 at 9 p.m. Go watch it. It's fantastic.
Welcome back for one last ride off screen. And you know what? We've got something notable on the DVD and Blu-ray aisle this week. This got dumped out onto Disney Plus, I believe, this Wednesday on the 1st of December. Is now on DVD and Blu-ray as well, and apparently has been the merciless target of apathetic millennials, Becks. We're talking about Ridley Scott's movie of the year, not House of Gucci, notably, the other one. It's the Rape Rashomon, The Last Duel, starring Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, Adam Driver, and Jodie Comer. Do you know what? This came in for a kick-in, but I didn't mind it.
I know, I remember your review of this a couple of weeks ago. You really enjoyed this, and I'm quite looking forward to watching it regardless. I mean, we still are classed as millennials, and I don't know why our fellow brethren have not taken to this movie as such. But you know what? All I'd say about this is that Ridley Scott is a busy man. He's not only got House of Gucci out, he's filming Kit Bag. There's loads of other stuff that he's got on his way. So, I'm sure he's not too bothered.
No, I'm sure knowing Ridley Scott, if he's ever silent for more than a couple of minutes, then he's probably planning another god-awful Alien prequel. Please stop, Ridley, please. But The Last Duel, I quite like, has got one of my favourite Ben Affleck performances ever in it, and I'm not kidding. I don't say that lightly, believe me. I'm an Affleck aficionado. This I do not take lightly, but it is one of my favourite Affleck performances in The Last Duel. So you can see that on Disney Plus or now on DVD and Blu-ray. But going on to streaming then, let's talk about another movie coming to Disney Plus this Sunday. Now, I didn't get the chance to catch this at the LFF this year. Maria Duarte raved about it. No, I never got to see it. It is the documentary The First Wave, which is about the response from first responders in New York to the early days of the pandemic. And it's apparently a very harrowing documentary. I'm looking forward to this. I think this is being done as part of the Nat Geo part of Disney Plus, because they own National Geographic as part of that. So I think that's going out through that. More popularly known, and I know you're a fan of this, on the same platform, Disney Plus, Friday the 10th. So next Friday, we're getting 2 new comedies. We're getting the first we're getting is, of course, the Diablo Cody written Juno from Ghostbusters Afterlife director Jason Reitman. You're a fan of this, aren't you, Bex?
What? As if I bought myself a burger phone just in in relation to this movie. No, I don't like it. No, I love Juno, and Elliot Page was fantastic in it. Formerly
Elliot
Ellen
Page with the abs, by the way. Have you seen the abs?
I have not seen the abs. I will be googling as soon as we finish this show.
I'm envious, But,
really?
I'm envious of those abs, but in such a short time. Like, wow.
Yeah, amazing. Well, this is an award-winning film for Diablo Cody. I don't know what else we saw from Diablo Cody other than that.
Jennifer's Body was the really high-profile sort of follow-up for Diablo Cody to Juno, because obviously it was Diablo Cody teaming up with Megan Fox, and there was that whole thing.
Yeah, it didn't hit me as much as Juno did. But you know what? This is like a zeitgeisty kind of movie. It was like of its time, brilliantly acted, so sharp and witty, something that I think Greta Gerwig would just, dream of recreating in a way. And I think
Should we have a little listen to some of the very distinctly Diablo Cody, because she is one of those writers, isn't she, where there is you're under no mistake whatsoever, you're under no misapprehension. This is clearly a Diablo Cody script I am listening to.
Like I'd marry you, you'd be the meanest wife ever, okay? And I know that you weren't bored that day, because there was a lot of stuff on TV, and the Blair Witch Project was coming on Starz. And you were like, I haven't seen this since it came out, and so we should watch it. But oh no, we should just make out instead. La la la.
You just take Katrina the douchepacker to prom. I'm sure you two will have like a real bitchin' time.
Well, I still have your underwear.
I still have your virginity.
God, would you shut up?
What, are you ashamed that we did it?
No.
Because at least you don't have to have the evidence under your sweater. I'm a planet.
God, I do love that movie. It
takes
so
you back,
good.
doesn't it?
It does, and it's just that is so sharply written and just so it's just so brilliant. But also we got The Heat on Disney Plus as well. So not Heat, The Heat, which is coming out on Friday next week as well. What's this one all about?
The Heat. This is the 2013 action comedy from Paul Feig, starring Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy. One of my favourite bits of trivia about this is that for the longest time, this project was officially referred to as Untitled Sandra Bullock, Melissa McCarthy Female Buddy Cop Comedy, which I can't help but wonder if they had actually put that on a poster, just knocked off the untitled bit and actually actually put out a movie called Sandra Bullock, Melissa McCarthy, but a female buddy cop comedy. I wonder how that would have done. It probably would have done about as well as The Heat, which I think is genuinely overlooked, and is a great action comedy. It's got some vintage McCarthy bits. Sandra Bullock is just having a ball playing sort of the straight man opposite, sort of in that sort of nerdy way. When Sandra Bullock plays nerd, she plays the sort of fish out of water nerd, and she does it incredibly well. In the same way, kind of as Miss Congeniality, but
I kind of remember it.
I inverted.
Yeah, I loosely remember this one. It doesn't jump out as me as one like, you say Miss Congeniality, I'll know exactly what it is, but not with this one. I think this is kind of middle of the road, maybe.
Yeah, it's got a great sequence in which, because it's set in Boston, and it's got a great sequence in which Sandra Bullock is being asked repeatedly by Melissa McCarthy's brothers if she's a cop, and they choose to ask this by the phrase, "Are you a narc?" But they say it in the thickest Boston accent. It's like, "Are you narc? Are you not a narc? A narc?" Am I saying what accent? Yeah, it's the worst. It's just brilliant. It's brilliantly done. Anyway, so we've got one big release on the same day on streaming on Friday the 10th on Amazon Prime, and this has skipped cinemas entirely. And this caught kind of all of us who noticed it unaware, completely by surprise. Because it had quite a decent run internationally in cinemas at the start of the year. It's the latest Guy Ritchie film, and it's his reunion with Jason Statham, and it's going straight to streaming in the UK on Amazon Prime on Friday the 10th. It's called Wrath of Man. It stars Statham as H, a new security guard for an armored car company who goes through his induction training, proves to be a very adequate, inductee, but then finds himself in the line of fire during an attempted robbery, and suddenly shows himself off to be absolutely lethal, causing, his fellow security guards to wonder just what's going on, and why do all these robbers who survive all seem so terrified of him.
It doesn't feel right. It was as if he recognized H. Like he saw a dark spirit.
What are you saying?
I don't know what I'm saying. He's not a cop. Doesn't smell like a cop.
But if he's not a cop, what is he?
He's a dark spirit.
This is very interesting, because does this sort of go... How important is cinema to go and watch some of these movies? Because a Guy Ritchie movie, I'd love to go and see in the cinema. Or is Guy Ritchie kind of going, Amazon streaming, this is the way to go?
I would venture a guess that someone saw the quality of the finished film, because this does feel like a throwaway effort from both Statham and Ritchie. It's a remake of a foreign language film, and I think it's kept the structure from that. It takes place in sort of 4 non-linear, they're out of order, the chapters. It doesn't quite work, I don't think. It feels like they're trying to bring a style of cool to a film that I think needed more nuance and depth added to it. It doesn't work as a Jason Statham action. I think needed to work as more of a gritty thriller. And I think Statham plays it as more of a lethal Terminator kind of a role, almost as like a Liam Neeson movie. In a sense, you're getting like a Liam Neeson movie, and what you want is more of a high budget, a high concept thriller out of it. Something like The Departed, of all things. Yeah, it just doesn't quite work. Great cast though. Josh Hartnett's in this. Would you believe? Holt McCallany is in there as well. The stuff about it, the stuff that's very cool. I mean, it looks the biz, and it's got like that grizzled 80s B-movie swagger. But it just doesn't quite work because the material isn't there. It isn't. And I don't think Statham can sell this as well as they think he can. It just doesn't quite work. And it does remind you of like Revolver, when they tried to do something similar with Revolver, where they were trying to tell an unconventional story with Guy Ritchie and Jason Statham. And you had results that were worse than this, to be fair. This is nowhere near as bad as Revolver. But we are talking about the same kind of pantheon.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, that very, very tidily rounds up our selection of movies on the big screen, the small screen, and everything in between this week. So lots of great picks there. That Blue Bayou movie is definitely one to watch. Not Blue Bayou. That would be something totally different.
Blue Bayou.
I think I was going a bit tally-ho there. But we'll be back next week with, well, gosh, I'm trying to think what we've got as the big movies next week.
Do you know what the biggie is back next week, Bex? I know the biggie's screening. I don't know if it's the big release, but it's West Side Story. Next week seems to be the big. In fact, it would be, wouldn't it? The big release next week is West Side Story. So we get to get our dancing shoes on next week and try not to talk about Ansel Elgort's personal life, which is going to be more than Spielberg's doing. But let's just get that one right out of the way. But hey, next week is it the Jets and the Sharks next week?
The Jets and the Sharks, and I want to be in America, where you are, and you'll be coming back to Blighty. So we will see you on our home shores. But until next time, I've been Becks Perfect.
I've been Van Connor, and we shall return.